Salute, squad. Welcome back to another episode of FlyHiProductionz with Mr. Follow Up. Hey, so check this out. Y'all know it's been a halt in the Young Thug YSL RICO trial, right? Now, amongst all the other things, right now what's on the table is the fact first of all, they want Judge Glanville to recuse himself. Well, Judge Glanville is refusing to recuse himself. Therefore, it made the defense attorneys move for a motion. Now, doing all this and trial going on, we done seen people be locked up. People have been taken out of the courtroom to the back because they was smelling like marijuana. We done seen ex-police that were dating witnesses locked up for tampering with evidence. We've seen attorneys, state attorneys, allegedly attempt to date witnesses. Man, there's a lot going on. But again, like I say, right now, what's on the table is the fact what's holding the court up today and last week while the jurors were removed because Judge Glanville was refusing to release the transcripts of that ex parte meeting. It was a meeting held with Lil Woody, a couple of the state attorneys, the court reporter, a couple of more people, Kayla Bumpus, the stand-in attorney for Lil Woody, along with Lil Woody. No one from the state, no one from the defense was there. Therefore, that's what caused the argument. For the ex parte meeting to be legal, allegedly, someone from the state was supposed to be present. Anyway, I was able to get my hands on the transcript by way of AVtotheseventhpower. I got to give her what am I trying to say? I got to salute AVtotheseventhpower, man, because she broke it down way better than I ever would have. So, without further ado, I'm gonna let AV do her thing. And like I say, these are the transcripts starting with the day of June 10th, that ex parte meeting.
We're gonna go another 2 hours if we have to. Here's the full transcript. It's 56 pages. Hold on, let me just.
Man, never mind those commercials. We back.
Want to do it now or tomorrow? I'm asking Lee if he wants to do this on his side, but we're here, so we're gonna get a sneak peek. Let's go. Here it is. Here it is. Here is the transcript of the secret meeting, guys. All right. In the chambers of Honorable Judge Glanville on June 10th, 2024. Let's go. This comes from Christina Weaver. This is the woman that is she's like the court transcriber, the court reporter. Here we go. On behalf of the state, you had Adrian Love. On behalf of the state, you had Simone Hilton. On behalf of Lil Woody, you had Kayla Bumpus. All right, so we have 3 people so far. The ex parte hearing began at 9:10. Present in chambers were Judge Glanville, ADA Love, and attorney Kayla Bumpus. Court reporter Christina Weaver and investigators Antonio Long and Rashid Hamilton. Court reporter, okay, I'm ready whenever you are. Miss Love, thank you. The concern that we wanted to bring to the court's attention as the state was twofold. 1, We wanted to have the opportunity to impress upon Mr. Copeland with representation present that he faces, and we wanted to give him an opportunity to ask whatever questions he wanted to ask before he was we had to pull him in the courtroom when the jury came out. The second concern that I have is, and I wanted to bring to the court's attention in line with the concern that I expressed on the record on Friday. I don't know what advice counsel may have offered or may be offering. That is their right, and it is their business, which she's talking about Melnick here. All right, she's talking about Melnick. As it relates to testifying, however, I do not believe that criminal exposure is a concern that is which interest is being spoken about and protected. Mr. Melnick relayed to Ms. Hilton on Friday that he had never heard of the statute 24-5-507. And on Friday, he sent an email. I don't know if he intentionally copied Mr. Steele and Mr. Sharp. I don't know if he unintentionally put my name on it. But he sent an email to Mr. Steele and Mr. Sharp with me and Simone copied, where he said, "This is the communication that I received from Miss Love regarding Mr. Copeland." My response was, and this is Miss Love talking, "Whose interests are you protecting? Yours or Mr. Steele's? Whose clients, which client are you protecting? Whose clients? Yours or Mr. Steele's? Or Mr. Sharp's?" He wrote back and said, "You are going to have him killed. You are making him a target. Fuck you." That is what he wrote in an email. Yo, guys, hit the like button. This is tea. Now we're figuring it out. Oh my God, let's go back in. I'm making me small so y'all can read. Wow. So given that his concern is that by testifying, at least the one that he conveyed to me in writing, it's not his concern, has nothing to do with the exposure from the state. And if it is his concern, the court, this is Judge Glanville coming in, he says, his being whose concern? Miss Love, Mr. Melnick. If the interest that he is protecting Lil Woody's freedom, he did not convey it by asking us what exposure does he face in testifying. In fact, if he's concerned that testifying will get Mr. Copeland killed and he is not communicating with us, he's communicating with counsel for the defendants. It would seem that he knows a thing or something that we don't know. Additionally, and I will let Miss Bumpus tell you, he said if Lil Woody testifies, he's no longer representing Lil Woody, which is strange because if your interest is your client, then it would seem you would want to be there for him while he is testifying. Guys, teapot. Forget teapot. Love said that's why Melnick was all flustered that Friday. I showed it to you guys. I showed you guys the clip. Allegedly, he was going on vacation, had everything already booked. But it sounds like he actually did care about Lil Woody. Like, he didn't want Lil Woody to get killed. He's just like, by you doing this, you're going to get him killed. Fuck you. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but whoa. Let's go back in. Oh my God, this is so crazy.
This out.
Judge Glanville says, well, he is on vacation this week. Miss Love says, I understand. That's why he has Miss Bumpus here. And he has said what he has said. And as I was reading the statute, I was reading the statute about this particular situation, and I was reading our rules, our ethics and our rules of conduct for attorneys. And it is clear that if an attorney, that were two things that were happening. One, Mr. Melnick had told me he wasn't Lil Woody's lawyer. Lil Woody had told Miss Hilton that Mr. Melnick wasn't representing him. And then rather than Lil Woody reaching out to Mr. Melnick apparently was in communication with Mr. Steele, Mr. Sharp, and Mr. Melnick reaches out to Lil Woody and injects himself in these proceedings. What were we What we were discussing was in no way a matter that Mr. Melnick was representing it was a matter that Mr. Melnick was representing Lil Woody on. And that is where we are not allowed to speak with the person when they are represented by counsel. Mr. Melnick could not have been representing Lil Woody on anything we were talking about, because we were talking about this case and this trial. All of that aside, we would like an opportunity for the court to address Lil Woody with Lil Woody's stand-in counsel present, Miss Bumpus. It says Miss Bumpus is looking at me like, and this is when Kayla jumps in. She said, I'm listening. Shout out to Kayla. Miss Love says, with his stand-in counsel present and to allow Miss Bumpus an opportunity to explain to Lil Woody everything that I have just said. Her concern outside was what is the longest he can stay in jail. Kayla told me and Lee that earlier. What I relate to her is the statute says until he purges. Judge Glanville jumps in. He says, by testifying. Miss Love goes on to say his contempt by testifying. Judge Glanville, yeah, 507 is a little bit different. So, I mean, Miss Bumpus jumps in. Shout out to Kayla. She says, so until the end of this, Glanville says he can be here until the end of the trial. Damn. Okay. Miss Bumpus, that is what I said. To the end of the trial is the longest. Miss Love, no, it's not the longest. Even after a grand jury, if a person has been subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury, and even after the grand jury has, convened, has left, that person can stay in until the person purges themselves of contempt by testifying. The statute literally says that. Kayla says, well, I'm going to look it up because it was my understanding that it was until the end of trial. This is what Kayla was talking about with me and Lee. They made it seem like Lil Woody would be in jail forever, indefinitely, right? Miss Love says, nope, here it is. Literally the words of the statute. And so Glanville jumps in. He could be in there a while. Let's put it that way. Either way, Kayla jumps in. I just want to be able to give him, Glanville jumps in. I know. It's kind of the statute. Says, that you purge, but I can't keep him in there indefinitely. I've got to Kayla says, right. That is all I want to know. Glanville says, the whole thing is that he has the keys to his own freedom. And that freedom is if he just gives his testimony, then he's purged it. Kayla says, right. Miss Love says, and whatever that testimony is, we know what we believe it to be. But, we don't know what it is. We can't talk about it. We don't. We don't know what he's going to say. We have an idea. We know what he's told us. Kayla says, yeah. Miss Love says, and our concern is that if our concern, I know the court said essentially you intimated that Mr. Melnick probably told him essentially you should testify. They are not going to. They can't do anything with your testimony. But what we overheard being said was they are going to hammer you as if we are going to expose Lil Woody to. Kayla jumps in. You heard that? Miss Love says, yes, yeah. Mr. Melnick told Mr. Copeland, Lil Woody, we're going to hammer him. Glanville jumps in. Now, to be fair, and I think Miss Bumpus has an advocate or anybody has got to tell him he's going to face some pretty significant cross-examination. Kayla, yeah, I think that's what he meant. Glanville, he's got about 10. Miss Love jumps in. So he meant the defense is going to hammer him. Miss Bumpus says, no, just in general, it's not going to be a, hey, da, da, da. Shout out to Kayla. Miss Love says he knew that. He had literally been expressing that. Glanville. But I mean, I think that if he's concerned about that, well, but it's all in the message and the packaging in terms of, I think Mr. Copeland is, a savvy person. But, he's certainly going to be subject to a thorough sifting cross-examination. Miss Love. And the other thing is that Miss Bumpus, can I just say something in Attorney Melnick's defense and response, just for the record? Oh, Kayla was hip. Kayla's like, what's going on? Miss Love says, yes. Kayla says the reason he doesn't want to move forward with representation, that I have been told, if he decides to testify, is that he doesn't feel like he can. He doesn't know what was said outside of his presence. So he doesn't feel like he can adequately represent him or counsel because he doesn't know what was told to the state when he wasn't there. Miss Love. But the thing is that the only thing that he should be concerned about is the criminal exposure, or the exposure that Lil Woody has criminally. And there is nothing. There is literally nothing. The statute is quite clear that we can do to him about only the thing that would put him in harm's way is a lie and a refusal to testify after being ordered to do so by the court. And by a lie, we don't mean like, oh, I think you lying, It would have to be, something obvious, because he can always impeach. We can always impeach. But if he literally perjures himself, and that's something different, we can't help that. We can't control that. We would have to say, tell the truth. I don't care how bad it is, just tell the truth. So, he's like he says, I didn't go down to the police station. Here's Glanville. And I think part of this challenge, Miss Bumpus, may be that you need to assure him, look, I'm going to be here. And if you think that they are asking you a question, they being the state or the defense is asking you a question that's going to bring out other crimes, that he's going to have to be able to look at you and say, can I have a chance to talk with you? Miss Love says, that's exactly right. Kayla says, Miss Love says, see, but that's just it. Kayla says, no, he's not. Miss Love says, hold on. But that's just it, Judge. The problem is that there's been an assertion that people are representing, and I'm not talking about you. Kayla says, yeah. Miss Love says, there's been an assertion that people are representing that are not their biggest concern is his best interest. And then they are just not here. And Miss Bumpus is saying she's not in the position to do that. Kayla says, no, I'm not saying I'm not in a position. I'm saying that the agreement between Mr. Copeland and Melnick, who I'm standing in for, is that if he chooses to testify, I'm to get him to sign this paper that says that then discharges Melnick as his rep. That's their agreement. I can't do nothing about that. Miss Love says, that sounds weird. That does not sound like something in Lil Woody's best interest. That sounds like protecting someone else's best interest. If you talk, I can't. I ain't going to. I'm not going to represent you. I don't even know what to do with that. Kayla says, well, he said he does not know what was said. Miss Love says, it doesn't matter what was said. Kayla says, right. Miss Love says, it doesn't matter. And he didn't ask us. He didn't even inquire. What have you all talked about? He has been talking to Brian Steele and Max Start. That's it. He is not talking to us. They're talking about Melnick, guys. And in fact, when Lil Woody asked to speak with us, Mr. Melnick barges in and gets in between Miss Hilton and Lil Woody and literally keeps us from talking to him before he gets called on to the stand. And that's troubling. Oh, man. Do y'all see where this is going? They're trying to make it seem like there is this scheme between defense counsel by Melnick getting involved and only talking to Brian Steele and only talking to Sharp. Now I understand what was being protected. Miss Bumpus. Well, I think what happened was, and I say this because I previously represented Lil Woody previously on his other stuff. So I don't know when this is just what I think happened. I think how Attorney Melnick came involved was his representation of because he took my place. Lil Woody fired me and hired Melnick, and then this came about. And I think, so at the beginning, Melnick was representing him, and then Miss Love chumps in, and his criminal matter that he had. But that's resolved. Kayla says, But when this case started, Melnick called me and told me that he was representing him as a witness at the beginning. I can assert that. Miss Love, Melnick has never in life. Miss Bumpus, this is 2 years ago. Miss Love, Melnick didn't, as a matter of fact, less than 2 years ago when Copeland was sitting in jail for something else he had done. Melnick said, I don't represent him. He told me I don't represent him. And people were in the room. He was on speaker. He told me he didn't represent him. Now he ultimately did come about and represent him. But when we were trying to get, I guess, Kayla says something, yeah? Miss Love says, Copeland was like, he's not my lawyer. I don't have a lawyer. He's not my lawyer. And then Miss Bumpus says, are you talking about recently? Miss Love says, so recently, Lil Woody said that Melnick was not his lawyer. Miss Bumpus said, right. Miss Love says, when Lil Woody was in jail, Melnick told me he wasn't his lawyer. But our understanding was that Melnick was his lawyer for those criminal charges. And so the person that came in and argued, or at least stood in for him on his bond and then on his subsequent plea was Melnick. But I don't know whose interest he would be representing when he's not talking to us about what we've spoken to Copeland about. He could ask us and we would tell him, so I don't know why he would withdraw his representation of him. If his interest is Lil Woody, then why would you pull out? Ooh. Judge Glanville says that doesn't make sense. Miss Love says at the point where he would face the most peril, if that is his concern. If his concern is, I don't know what they've talked about, so I don't know what. Glanville says, I thought that Miss Hilton had a list of questions for Mr. Copeland anyway. Miss Love says she did. Glanville says, well, how come you all can't? Miss Love, he didn't ask to see those. He didn't. And not only that, Glanville says, well, can't you all share that with Miss Bumpus? Miss Love says, well, Miss Hilton has already shared it with Mr. Copeland, and we certainly will share it generally speaking. Miss Bumpus says, can I read this email that Melnick sent me? I don't know if this will help you understand what he's saying. Oh, it says, hey, Kayla, I wasn't able to see Kenneth today. Kenneth is Lil Woody. He went on Saturday and tried to talk to him before his flight, but I have talked to his family. So at first, Lil Woody was going to testify, but now has decided to take the 5th. He may change his mind on Monday. If he does, then he's agreed to discharge me as his attorney. This isn't out of bad feelings, but I was not present when he met with the DA's office, so I can't really help him with his testimony. And then he gave me the discharge and told me that if he decides to testify, then he's to sign this. Miss Love. And that's just it. It's like you never know what somebody's going to ask. And if he's concerned about putting him in legal jeopardy, then it would seem like he would remain and allow Mr. Copeland access to counsel when Mr. Copeland is concerned that he's about to walk into an area that puts him in legal jeopardy. Miss Bumpus, you can't switch how he gets called. Miss Love, see, that's not in Mr. Copeland's best interest. That's in the defendant's best interest. When you say switch in how he gets called, what does that have to do with anything? Kayla says, I don't know. Maybe he's saying he can't do it because he can't get his refundable ticket. Miss Love, that is not what he said in that email to you. And that is not what he relayed to the court. And his concerns have nothing to do with, Glanville says, he was very much, Kayla says, I try to go back and watch as much as I could. Glanville says, telling me what he was, that he was going on vacation. And I said, well, you inserted yourself into this. And I said, really, you need to come on Monday. Miss Love says he can't force Mr. Copeland to discharge him just because. Okay, let me read that again. Miss Love says, so he can't force Lil Woody to discharge him just because Lil Woody decides to testify. Glanville says, I think you are in until it's done. I mean, Glanville looked at Kayla and said that. And she said, who, me? Me? I'm in it? After meeting her, now I can see her having this reaction. Glanville says, yeah, I mean, that's just if he testifies. You've got to kind of Miss Love says, and frankly, Your Honor, I know that if a person faces criminal contempt, they are entitled to representation if they want it. This being a civil contempt matter, Glanville says, not necessarily. Anyone who's facing contempt can get counsel. I mean, not anybody, but Kayla says, I can't stay. How long is this going to take? Miss Love says, it might take some days. Miss Bumpus says, uh-huh. Miss Love says, and see, that's just it. And I think Miss Bumpus is put in as a precarious position. She's not the one that stood up and injected herself into this. They reached out to her. She did him a favor. But ultimately, it seems as if Mr. Melnick is stalling and attempting to delay and hamper and hinder our proceedings, and that it's a problem because that has nothing to do with his best interest of Lil Woody, and that has nothing to do with Lil Woody's exposure if he testifies. Just to answer the question about what he's exposed to, the statute is very, very clear. It literally says that no testimony or any evidence required under the court's order or any information directly or indirectly derived from such testimony or evidence shall be used against the person in any proceeding or prosecution for the crime or offense concerning what he testified or produces evidence under the court order. That is saying even if he got on the stand and said, Glanville says, he started talking about an unrelated crime, which is what the biggest thing I think he's probably thinking about that is that there's a lot of stuff they could ask me about. Miss Love says, right. Glanville says that is not known to a lot of people and that, he could also invoke his Fifth Amendment with the advice of counsel if it was some other particular crime. But Miss Love says, but even that, we wouldn't even, Glanville says, literally, right. But Glanville says, even that, he'll still have to testify. Miss Love says, literally, right. The saw lays? I don't know what that means. The saw lays? I think she meant the law says. See this? This is a court reporter mistake right here. The court says, yeah, I mean, anything he testifies to. Miss Love says, we do this. Miss Bumpus says, okay. And then about the delay or stall, isn't it true or is it not true that he had a leave filed since December? Oh, we're talking about Melnick. Miss Love says, we have nothing to do with any of that. He injected himself into this. Glanville says, yeah. See, the problem is, Miss Love says, he stepped in. Glanville says that when you get involved, I don't know, you have a leave. Oh, so because he got involved with this, guys, because Melnick, according to this conversation, inserted himself into it, they're saying if he was on leave of absence since December and he jumps in to help Lil Woody, is his leave still activated or active? Anywho, Glanville says, and unless you file that leave into this case, you don't have a leave for my case. Miss Love says, right. Maybe this is a mistake he's covering. Kayla says, okay. Miss Love says, and he did not. Glanville says he didn't have one. Miss Love says, Mr. Lil Woody's been a witness and a name on this witness list since. Glanville says, so since he said, well, I represent him, I'm like, okay, well, you don't have a leave that's filed in our case. Kayla says, okay. Miss Love says, so he did this to himself and he did it to you. But we have to, that is just where it is. And I don't know that that's just where we are. Kayla says, so Judge, you're going to make me stay if he chooses to testify? Oh. Glanville says, I am, because you're his lawyer. You're his lawyer. You're a stand-in lawyer at this point. Kayla says, Your Honor, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not ready. Miss Love, if Glanville, there's nothing for you to be ready about. I mean, here's the thing. I think the only thing you've got to kind of ask him is, look, here is the questions the state is going to ask you. All right. Is there anything else that could hurt you that they may ask you about? And as long as you have knowledge of that, then I think that you are fine, because the state's only going to get into this. Now, the reason you want to know what's going to hurt you is the defendants know more about Lil Woody than anyone else. So they are probably going to kind of, Miss Bumpus, what about if I say I can't do it? Then Melnick needs to come back, right? Am I going to be in trouble? Because I was only for Monday. That's what I was told. I was given specific, Miss Love. If Lil Woody said, and I don't know what Lil Woody wants, it's his choice. Miss Bumpus, can't he say he doesn't want Melnick? Miss Love, he can say whatever he wants. It's his choice. Miss Bumpus. But the judge is saying, Miss Love, I don't think he can be forced to have representation if he doesn't want, need, or say he wants it, because we have done everything to clear him of judicial exposure. He's not. There is nothing he can say. He could lie. That puts him in, Judge Glanville said, peril. Peril. Can y'all type peril into the chat? Because now Lil Woody's behavior makes so much sense. This is bad, guys. Oh my God, it's bad. Miss Love says, peril, but he can't talk about a crime that we could then prosecute him for. Glanville, that is involving this or some other place. Miss Love, right? Miss Bumpus, I understand that, but Miss Love, and we can't use his testimony to go find evidence to prosecute him for the stuff he talks about. Basically, he is literally shielded. Miss Bumpus, I would have to agree with you on that. I don't think that that's the concern. Isn't that what you said? Miss Love, well, the court said that. Miss Bumpus.
Now, the part that I'm a little concerned about is now, even though he's gotten a pardon by the state, will the feds come back and pick this up, or vice versa? And maybe that's what Woody's a little concerned about, along with the rest of the gang knowing that he went in there and spilled the beans and told on the gang and gave up information they wasn't even asking him. We're going to move on, and we're going to try to get on through this transcript. Seemed to be rather long. But since the squad wanted to know what the transcript was all about, what happened in that secret meeting, we got the transcripts today, and word for word, and it don't seem to be any redactions in here, which was another argument they had last week, because the Judge Glanville offered to show them the transcripts in his chambers, but it wouldn't be revealed to the public. Well, if you look on the internet today, the public got hold to those transcripts, no redactions. Here we go.
No, I'm saying with Lil Woody not testifying. You said you don't think that his concern is criminal exposure, or you do think that is what he's worried about. Glanville, do you think that he's fearful of testifying for other reasons, like for his personal safety? Miss Bumpus, right. And there was just Tay just died. Tay just died yesterday. Miss Love, that is what Mr. Melnick said to me in an email I could pull up. He said, Miss Bumpus, but don't you believe that, Miss Love? You're going to get him killed. That's what he said. We ain't gonna kill him.
Now, I just want to say this. The guy they just mentioned, Tay, lost his life over the weekend. And Tay just so happened to have been Lil Woody's best friend, allegedly. And we've seen in the interrogation where it was a drive-by and an attempt on Lil Woody's life along with his baby mother and their child. Where in that interrogation, Lil Woody brought up Tay. And now to bring us up to speed, Tay has lost his life over the weekend. I want to send condolences to Tay, family members and friends. But we're going to move on because she's rather long-winded herself, and I don't want to keep y'all too long.
Miss Bumpus. See, I don't know anything about that email. Miss Love, we ain't going to kill him. I can show you the email, but we're not going to kill Kenneth Copeland. So who is he talking about? So what are you trying to do? Glanville, that is a collateral second and third order effect. You know, let's pray it doesn't happen. But, and guys, I'm going to read that again. That is a collateral second and third order effect. They're going back and forth on the decision for Lil Woody to testify. Melnick wanted to get out of this because he knows if Lil Woody testifies, he's putting himself in danger. And Judge Glanville just said, that is a collateral second and third order effect. I can't believe what I'm reading. You know, let's pray it doesn't happen, but Miss Love, I mean, obviously Glanville, first he has to give testimony though. I mean, that's what he has to do. He's got to give the testimony, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent. Good, bad, or indifferent, I should say. Miss Love, so we would like, with the court's permission, they haven't bought him over, and he was supposed to be the first one up. So I guess they want to get him. They might be over here with him now. Glanville, is he here now? Miss Love, I don't know. Judge Glanville exited the chambers at 9:33. Miss Love, he would like to just go into another courtroom and talk to him. Give you a chance to talk to him and then give you an opportunity to explain to him. The court reporter, we're off the record. Judge Glanville and Mr. Chamberlain enter the chambers at 9:34. So Glanville was gone for about a minute. Miss Love, Miss Hilton has been communicating with him. I'd like to grab her from downstairs and have her come up. Oh, she wasn't in the room the whole time. Love, Kayla, Glanville, court reporter. I think 2 other people from the investigator's office were there. But I didn't realize that Simone Hilton wasn't in the room. Let's keep going. Glanville, where is Lil Woody? Mr. Chamberlain, they took him upstairs to the tank in 9. Glanville, okay, we can bring him out too. Can we, Mr. Chamberlain? Your chambers is being used. I mean, your courtroom is being used. Glanville, let's bring him in here. Mr. Chamberlain, all right, so let me see if I can get that done. Glanville, let's bring him in here, okay? Thank you. We'll just bring him in here. The proceedings stood in recess from 9:34 to 10:03. 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 9:34 to 10:03 Miss Lil Woody. Oh my God. Entered chambers at 10:03. Also present were Judge Glanville, ADA Simone Hilton, Attorney Kayla Bumpus, Court Reporter Christina Weaver, Investigators Antonio Long and Rashid Hamilton, and Deputy Houston, Deputy McPherson, Sergeant Brown, Sergeant Hall with the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. Glanville. Okay. Lil Woody. Can you let him know I got a hearing problem? Okay, in comes Lil Woody. Kayla says, okay. He said, he is hard of hearing. Glanville, that makes two of us. I've got a hearing aid that's coming on the 27th of January. In June. So I'll try and talk loud. Is it okay if Lil Woody? Yeah, I can read lips. Glanville, okay, good. Mr. Copeland, good morning. Lil Woody, good morning. Glanville, all right. I just wanted to bring you over and let you talk with Miss Bumpus and see if there is anything you need to ask of your counsel or Miss Hilton or the state or the court before we bring you out this morning, because we would like to hear your testimony. And that is kind of where we are at this point in time. So is there anything you would like to ask, Lil Woody? Well, I want to speak with you personally that I have never been truthful a day in my life until I just made this statement right now. I don't comprehend none of this stuff that's going on. Glanville, okay, well, the only thing you can give is truthful testimony. Whatever you know is whatever you know. That's it. Miss Hilton, and what we'll say, and Mr. Copeland and we have talked about this. I'm not sure what your concerns are, what concerns you've expressed to Mr. Melnick last week. But if any of your concerns deal with being locked up for anything, you can't. There's nothing that can happen. The feds, Miss Bumpus says, well, that's not. Miss Hilton says, it is true. Miss Bumpus says, no, I said that's not his concern. Miss Hilton says, if his concern is his safety, we need to know that. That's not expressed. So we don't know what the concern is so that we can try to resolve the concern. That is what I'm saying. Mr. Copeland and I have had conversations before. I understand some of his concerns as potential criminal liability, hence why we gave you immunity. The federal statute of limitations, done. The statute of limitations, done. So there is nothing, I researched it this weekend again. Both of those statutes of limitations for what you and I talked about, which is in 2015 or before, done. You cannot be prosecuted for anything you testify federally or statewide. Immune, period. So if that is a concern, there is none, because you cannot be prosecuted. The federal statute of limitations is 5 years. So anything in 2015, 5 years would have been 2020. Anything statewide is 4 years. That would have been 2019. Finished. Next concern, what may happen in the street? You know what we have talked about, what we can do as far as living and all that. We have had those conversations. So I'm trying to express to you that we do not want you locked up. I don't know how many times I've got to tell you what I've got to say to you. We do not want you sitting in the cab or whatever they've got you because of this. I know you wanted to talk to me on Friday before you walked into court. We weren't able to talk. If you still want to talk with or without Miss Bumpus, I'm here, Lil Woody. But we do not want you in custody. We will not. This order, I don't know if you kept your copy of the order, but this order says you are immune from prosecution, Lil Woody. Any of it. Literally, Judge, you might want to close your ears. Simone. Judge, you might want to close your ears. If you confess to a murder on the stand and we don't have any other independent evidence outside of what you say on the stand, you are immune from prosecution from what you say in court. Simone just said that. Oh, let me keep going. Oi! Scroll too fast. So again, I don't know what was communicated to you on Friday. I have no idea. But what the state has assured you, which I have assured you in our private conversations with Mr. Long, as I'm saying in front of Miss Bumpus, as I told you, that is what the order says. Glanville, and that is on direct or cross-examination. Miss Hilton, and that is on direct or cross-examination. Glanville. So if you're worried about what the defendants may ask you because they may know your business, but if they ask you about things that you might think you might have some liability with, you can't be prosecuted for any of those things. Lil Woody, I got family members watching this trial, and I don't want my nephew and them to hear the things that I may be involved in and think it's okay. Miss Hilton, but I think that's a separate conversation you can have with them as an honest individual. Like, look, nephews, I done lived the life that I don't want you to live. Don't go through what I've been through. But that's something you can have outside of being in jail, because that's a better conversation you can have with your nephews in person. But they shouldn't have to come to the DeKalb County Jail because you're being held in contempt. You can have that conversation with your nephews tomorrow in person. You can have that conversation with them. You can have that conversation with anybody. You know what's coming up this weekend. Why are we in jail? What are we doing? Lil Woody. But y'all did this intentionally. Miss Hilton. No, we did not. You and I had this conversation, Mr. Copeland, on Friday morning. Lil Woody. You knew my child's birthday was next week. Miss Hilton. But what did I tell you? When we met with each other, I said to you, you asked me, what is the one thing that's going to get me in jail? Didn't you ask me that? And what was my response? If you plead the fifth. And that is exactly what you did on the stand. Lil Woody. But what did I tell you before I got to that point? I told you the whole time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Miss Hilton. But I told you we were giving you immunity. Lil Woody. That I was pleading the
Bear with me, squad. We gonna get through this.
pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton. No, you did not. Lil Woody. I told you every day I was pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton. No, you did not. And we told you. Lil Woody. I told you my concern. Miss Hilton. And we said we could give you immunity. You said your concern is what they know about you. And when you said that, I said, well, you know stuff about them. And then I said, whatever your concerns are, we can give you immunity. Lil Woody. So I didn't tell you I lied on them to get myself out of the situation. Miss Hilton, you said you were a liar. That's what you said. You said you were a liar. They knew Lil Woody was going to go rogue. Page 28 out of 56. And it's just starting. Miss Bumpus, was this recorded? Miss Hilton, no. Miss Bumpus, and did he ever say that Melnick was his attorney? Miss Hilton, no. This week, when we first met you in the car on Friday, we asked you, is Mr. Melnick your attorney? You said he's not my attorney. I haven't talked with him. Lil Woody, no, I never said he's not my attorney. I said I haven't talked to him. Miss Hilton, you said he's not your attorney. You haven't talked to him. Then we continued to have a conversation. At no point did you ever say to us, hey, I want Mr. Melnick here. Hey, put Mr. Melnick on the phone. Lil Woody, you didn't make me feel like I needed him. Miss Hilton, but if you needed him, we would have said, if you would have needed Mr. Melnick, we would have said to you, okay, just call him. So, I mean, that is our position. We don't want you in jail. We just want you to be able to purge yourself by testifying. Whatever your truth is what your truth is. But you have to just get an answer to the questions. We believe that whatever your truth is what your truth is. We know what you said before. I don't know what you're going to say on the stand, But what we know is pleading the fifth is going to keep you in custody. That's what I know. Now, how you answer your questions is how you answer your questions. I know what you said before, and I know what you said later. I mean, I know what you said before, and I don't know what you're going to say on the stand because you and I never went into full details about any of it. Simone is repeating herself here, guys. But what I don't want is you to be sitting here in custody. Lil Woody, you did it. Miss Hilton, I did not do it. You did it by pleading the fifth. Lil Woody, you told me before you went to the judge with whatever the thing called you went to him with, you told me that I can't, when I'm asked the question, I can say I don't recall or I don't know. You told me that if I plead the fifth, I mean something. Why would I plead the fifth to something I ain't do? And I said, you don't know what I did and what I ain't do. And then you was like something. And then y'all asked for this immunity. And I was like, it was something. And then Friday came, and then y'all go and tell me, oh, we went to the judge with this, so you got to testify. If you don't testify, the judge gonna lock you up. Miss Hilton, right. But that was based upon you, Lil Woody. But I told y'all that. Miss Hilton, no, you didn't. Lil Woody, you said, why would I plead the fifth to something I ain't do? And I said, you don't know what happened. Miss Hilton, and I said, I don't know what happened. Only you know and them know, I said. But you never said I'm pleading the fifth. You said, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? Lil Woody, I told you, I said, I'm going to plead you said, why would you plead the fifth to something that you know you ain't do? Miss Bumpus, so if you didn't have immunity prior to, is that what you're saying? That you feel like he didn't have immunity prior to? Lil Woody, immunity came Friday right when I went to jail. Miss Hilton, the immunity only came after Mr. Melnick. Miss Bumpus, hold on. Miss Hilton, the immunity came after Mr. Melnick sent us an email saying my client is pleading the fifth. That was on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Miss Bumpus, okay. Miss Hilton, so after that was an empathic? He was pleading the fifth. Miss Bumpus says, Miss Hilton says, we came and we got this signed. Miss Bumpus, Miss Hilton says, and then Friday morning came, and then Kayla says, okay. Miss Hilton says, so between Friday evening, Mr. Melnick reached out to us and he represents him. He's pleading the fifth. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute, guys, because I already spot something. We were talking to Kayla, and Judge Glanville went through a timeline, and he said Kayla and Lil Woody had an hour conversation out of the chambers. I've been reading this for I don't know, almost an hour now, and we're on page 32. We're halfway through the transcript. Glanville didn't give us a correct timeline. Let's go back in. Miss Hilton, so between Friday evening, Mr. Melnick reached out to us, said he represents him. He's pleading the fifth. Miss Bumpus, okay. And when was the last time you talked to him before Mr. Melnick got involved? Miss Hilton, we talked to him early that day on Thursday. Miss Bumpus, okay. Then how did speaks to, the court reporter couldn't hear it. She was talking to Lil Woody. Lil Woody says, he called me. Miss Bumpus says, okay, I was just trying to get a timeline. Miss Hilton, sure, right. So we have been talking since last Friday. So I met with Mr. Copeland last Friday, I think out in the neighborhood. Then he came on Tuesday for court. We talked briefly on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday he came. Lil Woody said Thursday. Miss Hilton, no, I think he only came 2 days. So it had to be Wednesday and Thursday he came. It wasn't Tuesday. It was Wednesday and Thursday he came. And then on Thursday, once we left, is when Mr. Melnick reached out to us and said, my client is pleading the fifth. And at that point is when we went to the next morning and got the immunity motion. And then we spoke on Friday morning. I handed Mr. Copeland this agreement and let him know that he has immunity and that anything he says we cannot use. Then Mr. Melnick came, and then we had court. Miss Bumpus, so you're pretty much saying you didn't ask for this. Lil Woody, I didn't. Miss Hilton, but we gave it. He doesn't have to ask for it. Miss Bumpus, I know. I mean, I'm just saying. Miss Hilton, right, he doesn't have to ask for it, but to alleviate whatever his concerns were, we gave him immunity. He didn't have to ask for it. Miss Bumpus, so if we wouldn't have had this, I'm just saying this is so he can understand it. I'm walking him through. Miss Hilton, Miss Bumpus, would he still have to testify or would he have been able to plead the fifth? That's what he's saying. Miss Hilton, if he did not have immunity, Miss Bumpus, yes. Miss Hilton, yes, he could plead the fifth. Lil Woody said, that's what I'm... Miss Bumpus, that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say he didn't have to ask for this. Miss Hilton, but he doesn't have to ask for it. Now that we've given it to him, because that's on us. So now that we've given it to him, it's in order. He can still choose if this is the road he wants to take. Then he'll just stay in custody until the trial is over. Oh my God. And then we say the trial is over. Every last defendant has been tried. Not just these 6, the other ones too. Lil Woody says, I done did longer time. Miss Hilton, all right, Mr. Copeland, I'm telling you that you are literally immune from prosecution from anything else you may say. That's that. So the choice is always up to you, but we wanted to put on the record, the state does not want you in custody. What the state would like you to do is purge yourself from Lil Woody. What purge yourself mean? Miss Hilton, meaning that you are no longer in custody. And the way that you purge yourself is to testify. That is kind of how it happens. And that is what the state wants you to do. We want you in custody. We don't want you in custody. We can't say that we can't say that any other different way, but we don't want you in custody. The only thing that's holding you is you refusing to testify. Glanville. So do you have any questions, any other questions? Basically, if you invoke the fifth, Lil Woody, I don't know what's going on. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust her word, but I don't know what's going on, Your Honor. Miss Hilton, this is your insurance. I don't know if you want to break that down to him. Miss Bumpus, well, he doesn't want that. Glanville, but he's been given it. See, that's the challenge, Mr. Copeland, is that if they didn't give you the immunity, you could invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. But what the state decided is that they said your testimony is worth more to them at this point in time, and they really want to know what you have to say. So they have made from the state's perspective, they have made a decision to give you immunity so you no longer can invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. You have to testify. So that's the difference in this particular scenario, is that they have taken away, well, you can still invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. You still can do that. But the consequence of invoking it is that you will just remain in custody. So if you testify, you get out of custody, and you can stay out of custody until you are done. Lil Woody. And then if I don't testify, I have to stay until when? Judge Glanville, until the trial is over, until all of the defendants have been. I've got these 6 that we have right now. And then there's another 6. Miss Hilton, no, there's another 12. Witness coercion, just saying. The court, meaning Glanville, there's another 12, or there's about that are still outstanding in various forms or another. Lil Woody, can I speak with her for a second? Glanville, yeah, sure. So this is the point, 36 pages in. This is the point where Lil Woody leaves the chambers, and Lil Woody goes and speaks to Kayla for a little bit. Judge Glanville, ADA Simone, court reporter, investigators Long and Rashid left the chambers at 10:17, and they came back at 10:33. So look at that, right? That's already a misconception. Lil Woody and Kayla only talked for 16 minutes. That is not the timeline that was recorded in court today. Oh my God. Lil Woody, my question is, I can ask you a question? Glanville, yes. Lil Woody, so my question is, so what I was just asking her was, if you ask me a question and you feel and I was lying about it, will you lock me back up? Miss Hilton, no. if you are saying, you say, I didn't talk to Demikion, well, no, I can't talk about that because the judge is in here. You are asking, for example, if you said before that the sky was blue, and I asked you on the stand what color the sky is, and you said, I said the sky was red, I'm going to say no back before you ask me it was blue. Is that what you're trying to ask me? Simone said that to Woody in these chambers. Little Woody said that shit on the stand 4 days later on Thursday. Remember the week he was being difficult? Remember the shoes? Remember when he looked at the court reporter and he repeated that exact same thing? He was a lot smarter than we thought he was. Shout out to Little Woody. What you mean? Oh my God. Miss Bumpus. So explain the independent evidence. If he says he did something and you know he's not telling the truth, what happens? Miss Hilton, if he said he did something and he did not do that thing, Miss Bumpus, if you believe he did not, so if you believe that he's lying about that, Miss Hilton, then no. If he admits to doing something on the stand, and he did not do that thing, I'm going to say, if this is the first time you are saying that, Bumpus, if you have independent evidence to prove it wasn't him, then what? Hilton, then nothing. What do you mean? Like, Bumpus, so then he will be fine? Miss Hilton, yes, but Bumpus, so you're okay with him if he got on the stand and said things that weren't true? Oh, shout out to Kayla. That was good. That was good, Kayla. That was really good. Miss Hilton, no, I want him to tell the truth. What, let me go back. What have I always said to you? I want you to tell the truth. I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. I expect you to tell the truth. If you say something that is inconsistent with what you said before, then I'm going to ask about the inconsistencies, but I expect you to tell the truth. What you go on the stand and do, I don't know. I don't know what you are going to do. I want you to tell the truth, but I will deal with you, not you saying something different in the matter of that I normally do. Little Woody. If I'm saying something different, right? So when the police question me, they don't question me every time they lock me up. I don't know how many times that was. I done told them whatever different story I could think of to try to finesse my way out of the situation. I don't recall what I done told them. Miss Hilton, okay, you can say I don't recall. That is how that works. I don't recall. Miss Bumpus, and he can say that to every single question? Miss Hilton, I would hope that that is not the truth, because I think there are some things that you do recall and some things you don't. But the things you don't recall, you don't recall. And then I will go through my process of what I do. You can talk to him about what impeachment is. That won't get you locked up. Impeachment will not get you locked up. You can talk to him about what impeachment is. If he says, I don't recall. Little Woody, what will get me locked up? Miss Hilton, what did I tell you? Little Woody, I don't know. Miss Hilton, what you did on Friday. I pled the fifth. If the court instructs you, Little Woody. So the only thing that gets me locked up is pleading the fifth. Miss Bumpus, yes. Miss Hilton, the court instructs you, you need to answer the question. You say, again, I plead the fifth. Again, that's what's going to get you locked up. But if you answer the question, that will not get you locked up. Little Woody. So if you don't want me in jail, why just don't you let me go after the trial over with? Miss Hilton, you are in jail because you are not answering the questions. Glanville, because you have been given immunity. Miss Hilton, because you have been given immunity. You are only in jail because you got up to here. Little Woody, well, what about this? I answer the questions. You take away the immunity. I answer the questions and I plead the fifth. Miss Hilton, no. Miss Little Woody, to questions I feel incriminate me. Miss Hilton, but then that's Little Woody. I won't plead the fifth to things that don't incriminate me. Glanville, the state will still give you immunity. They can give you immunity to whoever they want, or they can give immunity to whoever they want. Okay, and they can make that choice. I don't even make that choice. So if they, like I said earlier, they want your testimony, they figure it's that the jury needs to hear what you have to say, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's what Miss Hilton is telling you, is just tell me the truth as you know it and let her worry about, even though you may have said different versions of whatever, that's for impeachment. That's not going to get you in trouble. What will get you in trouble is just invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege because you have been given immunity. Or as Miss Love said this morning, remember Miss Love said, if you overtly lie about something, like if you tell a bold-faced whopper, then they're going to indict you on that particular charge. That particular false statement. Lil Woody. That's what they're going to do. Miss Bumpus, that is what I was saying. You will be right back here. Miss Hilton, but if you say something that you know you did not do, like you admit to something you know you did not do, whether you, Lil Woody, like murder don't have like no statute of limitations, right? Oh God. Miss Hilton, but if you didn't do it, I can't charge you with something you didn't do because I don't have any other evidence but you saying it. Lil Woody, but y'all don't like Miss Bumpus. You can charge him with false statements and he will be back in jail. That is what I'm trying to say. Miss Hilton, but if I know that you are lying about that, I don't intend to do that. But if I know right now he's lying, I know he's lying. I'm not going to charge you because I don't know your reason for doing that. But I'm not going to charge you when I know you didn't do what you are trying to say you did now. And that can be a part of this. I know you didn't do it. Lil Woody, but it's up to the judge to do that, Miss Hilton. No, it's up to the state to bring charges. Glanville, I don't have anything to do with that. Miss Hilton, he has nothing to do with bringing charges. That's up to the state of Georgia. Lil Woody, can I talk to my family and I will make my decision right after I hang up the phone? Miss Bumpus, he's saying he hasn't been able to speak to anybody. Miss Hilton, his sister just called us. Lil Woody, y'all done me wrong. Y'all just hold me in jail. Don't let me get no PIN number, no nothing. Miss Hilton, we have no knowledge. We did not know that you, Miss Bumpus, he hasn't been able to do anything, speak to anyone. Lil Woody, the jail system down, but y'all still putting people in it. Miss Hilton, that part I don't know. I don't know. We have been in communication with your sister. Your sister actually texted Miss Lenskoy to make sure you were okay. We told her we physically have laid eyes on you. I'll leave that up to the sheriffs. I don't know. Lil Woody. So what you think she's saying? Miss Hilton, I can't tell you right now. Lil Woody, I'm talking about that locking me back up. Miss Hilton, we would have to bring charges. There would be no incentive. Lil Woody, y'all will. Miss Hilton, we've already had this discussion. Lil Woody, look at what you did to me. You waited until Friday and did this. I done told you every day before Friday came that I was pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton, no, you did not. As a matter of fact, our last Glanville. Mr. Copeland, let's see if we can get beyond this, okay? Beyond what your concern is. You could have invoked the Fifth Amendment privilege. The state could have turned over around and said, stop, had me go ahead and file that motion and given you immunity. It was going to, they can make that decision. They decided to make it on Friday. So even if you would have been more comfortable testifying or invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege, they could decide you as a witness, they want your testimony more than they do you invoking our Fifth Amendment privilege. So they give you immunity. They gave you immunity. So you've got to testify truthfully as to what your knowledge of the particular incident is. So they could have done that anyway. Even if they put you on the stand, they could have said stop and gone ahead and given you immunity. They could have done that. Lil Woody. So can I get it in some type of writing that if I was to testify that if she feels as if I lied about anything, they won't lock me back up? Glanville. Let me have that, Miss Bumpus. Miss Bumpus hands a document to Glanville. Glanville says, Mr. Copeland, on page 2 of the order, according to OCGA 245507, however, no testimony given by Kenneth Copeland as required under this order or any information directly or indirectly derived from testimony of Kenneth Copeland is required under this order shall be used against said Kenneth Copeland in any proceeding or prosecution for a crime or offense concerning which he testifies under this order. Okay, so you testify about some aggravated assault or murder, they can't prosecute you on it because that is what it says in the order. Okay? The only thing that will get you in trouble this next little paragraph. Kenneth Copeland shall be subject to prosecution or the penalty or forfeiture for any perjury, false swearing, or contempt committed in testifying or failing to testify in accordance with this order. However, it is ordered that Kenneth Copeland shall not be required to produce evidence that can be used in any other court in this state, the United States, or any state. So basically, if you commit perjury, false swearing, or contempt committed in testifying, that means if you just invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege or failing to testify, you say, I'm not going to testify. All right. So the only two real things you can kind of get in trouble for are perjury and false swearing, as long as you tell the truth. Now, as Ms. Hilton and Ms. Bumpus said earlier, you may have been told or have been asked about situations over and over again. They may have changed. When the state is asking you to do, what the state is asking you to do is tell the version that really is the truth. If they want to impeach you, they can do that. Or if the other side wants to impeach you, they can do that. You won't get in trouble for that. Lil Woody, you said I will. Glanville, you will not. You will not. Impeachment is not perjury or false swearing. Okay? Lil Woody, but she said I can purge myself though. Miss Hilton, no. We're saying two different things. Sorry. Perjury is if you get on the stand and you just say a bold-faced lie, just something that is just wrong. Say you say, I did something, and all the other times you said, I have not done it. And really, while it's perjury, it's really just an inconsistent statement. Oh my God. Like if you get on the stand and say, I did X, but in 2015, you said, I never did X, then that is what I'm going to impeach. I'm going to impeach you on everything you said in 2015, meaning I'm going to say, okay, today you said I did X, but in 2015, Lieutenant Dean enters the chambers. Lieutenant Dean, we have a security issue. We need to stop for a minute. If we can stop for a second, please. Judge Glanville and Lieutenant Dean exited the chambers at 10:45. Glanville returned 2 minutes later at 10:47. Miss Hilton, I don't know what was told to you on Friday. I have no reason to want you in prison. You have spent enough time in prison for YSL, period. So why would I want that for you? It doesn't make no sense. I said it to you before, and I will say it to you again in front of all these people. It makes no sense. Lil Woody, you just said I'm going to have to stay in jail until the last. Miss Hilton, if you don't testify. Get this part through your head. If you don't testify, that is the only thing that is holding you. That is literally the only thing holding you right now is the fact that you keep saying, I'm not going to testify. Well, you haven't said it today. I'm not testifying. I plead the fifth. If you get up there and I want you to tell the truth, like I said before, if you don't recall certain things, you can say you don't recall. That's fine. I want you to tell the truth. I don't expect you to remember every single detail from 2015. I just don't. No one here does. But what I do expect for you is to answer questions so we can get through this. So you can go home, be with your baby for her birthday, see those dogs deliver their babies, go talk to your nephews, and do all these other things. Lil Woody, how you know about my dogs? Miss Hilton, because you told me. Lil Woody, okay. Miss Bumpus, what's wrong? Lil Woody, I'm stressing at another level like Miss Bumpus. I'm just saying, Lil Woody, I'm weak. Man, I'm not playing. I'm dead serious, man. Like, Miss Hilton, this is what our position is. We do not want him in custody. We want him to tell the truth. We want him to testify. That's what will get him out of jail. And you have to make Miss Bumpus, if he decides in 2 weeks he wants to testify, then what? Miss Hilton, if he wants to stay in jail for 2 weeks, then I don't know why you would want to stay in jail for 2 weeks. I have no idea. Miss Bumpus, he just feels like he's under a lot of pressure right now. Mr. Copeland or Lil Woody, even at the jail, you can't give me a house arrest. Miss Hilton, no, you can go home by taking the stand and testifying. That's what you, and again, sorry guys, let me shut this window. It's really distracting. 1 second. 1 second. I'm thinking of the sound over here. Sorry, inner city sounds. Okay, Miss Hilton, no, you can go home by taking the stand and testifying. That's what you, Glanville, and come back tomorrow. Miss Hilton, we keep on saying yet, but there's no crime. We keep on saying yet, I don't know who's really telling you about a crime. There is no crime. You have done nothing wrong except for Lil Woody. So why am I in jail then? Miss Hilton, because you aren't testifying. Lil Woody, but that ain't nothing wrong. It's not a crime. Miss Hilton, it's not a crime that you're in civil contempt. The court, Glanville, two things. Because you invoked your privilege after you've been given immunity, that is why you're in custody, because you get out by testifying. So you testify, you get out. That's why I was going to bring you why I brought you here early today, just to inquire about that. You can remain and hold your position of invoking the fifth or not testifying, but you go back to prison. You go back to jail because that's Lil Woody. You can't sentence me? Miss Bumpus, there's no sentence. Glanville, there's no sentence. The contempt is compliance. We want your testimony. That's all they want, whatever that may be. Lil Woody, I don't know what it is, Your Honor. Miss Hilton, so listen. You're in jail for failing to testify. Glanville, failing to testify. Miss Hilton, not for nothing else. There is no crime. You ain't done nothing wrong. I don't know if people are telling you what we are going to charge you with. Nothing. We are not charging you. The state charges you. There is nothing we are charging you with. You're only in custody because you have decided not to testify. That's it. Once you decide to testify, Glanville, remember that word you were talking about, purge? Lil Woody, The court, okay, you can purge right now. Purge, get yourself out of jail just by testifying. Lil Woody, I can purge and get out of jail? Glanville, yes, just by testifying. Miss Hilton, not perjury. Glanville, purge, meaning you can get out of jail. You can get out of jail, out of custody just by testifying. Lil Woody, and what about the other one, the other word, perjury? Glanville, that's different. Miss Hilton, that's different. Glanville, that's a different word. Okay? Lil Woody, that can get me back in jail? Miss Hilton, yes. Glanville, perjury is, Miss Hilton, it's not what you are saying it's not what you are saying is not perjury. What you are saying is what we call a prior inconsistent statement. Your example that you gave me, what if I said I did something and I know you didn't do it and you said before you didn't do it? That's not perjury. That's a prior inconsistent statement. Miss Bumpus, you've got to make a decision. So if he starts testifying today, he's going to go home today? Miss Hilton, he should, so long as he remains. But if you get up there and be like, if you get up there testifying and then we get into it and you start saying, I plead the fifth, we're going to be back here again. Miss Bumpus, but if he says he don't recall to everything, he'll be okay? Miss Hilton, I'm not advising that. But so long as he answers the questions, that's fine. So long as he, Lil Woody, I did these crimes. I'm telling you that. Miss Hilton, okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but Miss Bumpus, I think you are saying you want to get up there on the stand and say something? Lil Woody, he's staying quiet. No response. Miss Bumpus, did we find out if he could talk to his family? No? Miss Hilton, I mean, if it's okay, we got the sister's phone number. Lil Woody, as my attorney, you gotta, Miss Hilton, if y'all want to talk, let me go somewhere. I can't hear you. The judge is over there, so just speak low so he doesn't hear you. Glanville, hold on. Judge Glanville handed a document to attorney Kayla Bumpus and exited chambers with Assistant District Attorney Simone Hilton, Investigator Long, Investigator Hamilton, and court reporter Christina Weaver from 10:53 to 11:28. Okay, so it does look like Lil Woody got at least 35 minutes with Kayla, with Miss Bumpus. Moving on. Glanville. Okay, all right. Mr. Copeland, have you had an opportunity to talk with Miss Bumpus, your lawyer, and Miss Hilton and the state's counsel? Have you got any other questions? Lil Woody? No, Your Honor. Glanville, is it your desire to give testimony today? Lil Woody, yes, sir. Glanville, okay, all right then. Do you all have some clothes for him? Miss Hilton, I don't know. Let me go take a look. What size are you? Lil Woody, I can't hear you. Miss Hilton, what size are you? Lil Woody, little. Investigator Hamilton, we've had a large jacket for him on Friday. Large. Miss Hilton, You had a jacket for him? Investigator Hamilton. Yes. Miss Hilton. Oh, but he can't wear a large? Glanville. What is your waist size? 34. Little Woody. 32. Glanville. Chest. What are you? 34. 34. 6 chest. Hilton. Probably 36. Woody. Not in my chest. What you mean? Guys, we have our first what you mean citing in this document. It's wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Glanville, what are they going to try to get you some clothes? They are going to try to get you some clothes so you don't have to testify wearing that jail uniform, okay? Little Woody, y'all don't want to show the people how y'all did me? Glanville, look, Miss Hilton, if we can't find clothes, then you may have until tomorrow. Little Woody, I prefer to go in like this. Miss Hilton, I understand what your preference is. Little Woody, nah, don't hide it. Miss Bumpus, can you make him put on clothes? Miss Hilton, no. Lil Woody, I want to go in there like this. Miss Hilton, fine with me. Glanville, all right? Okay. Mr. Little Woody, y'all ain't going to try and lock me back up for this? Miss Hilton, so long as you testify, we will get an order to get you released. Miss Bumpus, today. Glanville, whose copy is this? Miss Hilton, you've got to make sure you come back now. I want to be real clear. Little Woody, when have I ever ran? Miss Hilton, you have not. That's the only thing. You have not. Glanville, whose copy is this? Miss Hilton, that was ours. Do you want a copy? You can take it though. Miss Bumpus, okay. Miss Hilton, do you still have yours or you threw it away? Miss Bumpus, I'm going to give him both of these things so he can have some information. Miss Hilton, okay. The court reporter, are we off the record now? Glanville, are we done? Miss Bumpus, yes, I believe so. Glanville, okay, we're good. See everybody downstairs in about 10 minutes. The proceedings concluded at 11:31 a.m. This is a certificate. This is signed by Christina Weaver, the court reporter, certifying that everything on here is true and the way that it was transcribed. And ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the background noise. That is the transcript from the secret meeting we did.
All right, so there we have it. Those are the transcripts. Let me know what you think in that old inbox. So I mean, in the comment section. Yeah, I think we should see a mistrial. Should Judge Glanville recuse himself? Was Judge Glanville, was it an appropriate decision for him to make Kayla Bumpus stay on this trial? Even though YSL Woody said she was fired while he was on stand? Man, there's a lot going on here, man. There's a lot going on. But I did want to make sure that the squad had an opportunity to see the transcripts themselves. And I'm kind of glad that nothing was redacted. They was real transparent on it. Now the hold up, I believe in the court is, these motions been set for Judge Glanville to recuse himself. Brian Steele asked, another one of the prosecuting attorneys have requested it. We seen Kayla Bumpus and throughout the transcript, she's requested that Judge Glanville recuse himself. And it seems like everybody is in agreement with this, but Judge Glanville. But there we have it, man. Those transcripts came out. Now we can possibly get on with these court proceedings. Nevertheless, it is I, Mr. Follow Up. over here at FlyHiProductionz. Till next time, squad up.